Close but no cigar. Another loss for the Toronto Raptors. Let's go to the film room. Davion Mitchell tried to exact revenge tonight against the Sacramento Kings with 20 points, 6 assists, and 2 made threes. I thought his connection with Jakob Poeltl in the pick and roll was really nice. Uses this screen, nice dump off pass to Poeltl for the finish, the floater. Does a nice job of using this Grady screen, getting downhill. Nice skip pass to Boucher for the three. Boucher, another incredible night against the Kings, by the way. More poise in the pick and roll and better decision making here. Here he flips the pick and roll. Great job by Jakob to switch the direction to, and a nice dime for the finish. Also thought that, he was his regular self defensively, very active on De'Aaron Fox, who struggled tonight, 5 of 17. A lot of that was because of the two-headed monster of Davion Mitchell and Jamal Shead. Here he is, chases him out the spot, forces him into the help of Jakob Poeltl. With the help of Grady, he forces Fox to pick up his dribble. And I think ultimately the thing that was most impressive to me was his driving game. He scored 20 points, most of them on the inside. Again, using the Jakob Poeltl screen to drive and get downhill. And I like the fact that Davion is looking to be aggressive. That's one thing that I actually need him to do more, is to try and get downhill, because as a lead ball handler who's not necessarily the greatest pull-up shooter, he needs to weaponize the downhill game in order to be a threat. Same thing here, empty side pick and roll, he uses it. Nice curved screen there to get him downhill. But I just thought he did a great job of bursting once the screen came as well. Here he is. Takes Keon Ellis off of the bounce and just explodes in reverse. Did a great job of doing this in transition too. Finishes over Herter. And obviously this part is going to be a major aspect of his game once the roster gets fully healthy. Making these catch and shoot shots like he did tonight. I think he's actually been pretty good in those moments so far. Again, did a great job of pushing in transition, not seeing a set defense, goes all the way for the and one. Empty side pick and roll again. This time he settles into a floater, which is really, really great work. And the more he develops his in-between craft, the better. And this, he was feeling it because he settled into a pull-up jumper here and made it. Obviously, that's not a part of Davion Mitchell's game generally, but he was feeling it tonight. He exacted his revenge, if you will. And the Toronto Raptors unfortunately lost in Sacramento. This was a weird one, to be honest with you. This was a really uneven game, in my opinion, because it felt like the Raptors set the tone early, played well. We're forcing turnovers, especially in that first quarter. We're getting out and running. RJ Barrett was doing his thing. Second quarter came and they kind of withstood a Kings run and kind of dealt with the punches. Chris Boucher was playing well. Jamison Battle was hitting his shots. Jonathan Mobo had some really impactful plays, both on the offensive and defensive end. I'm going to actually write about Mobo in a couple of days, and that's why I didn't do a film room here on him. But you'll see Mobo stuff throughout the year. So there were like really, really good moments in this. There were a couple things that limited them, though. So Jakob didn't get to the best start in the first half. He was really struggling to finish. I think in the second half, he really turned it around and played a really, really good game. But in the first half, he wasn't as effective. Grady Dick got into a foul trouble in the first half as well. I believe he picked up 3 fouls in that first half, and it didn't allow him to get into rhythm. He just kind of struggled offensively. Probably his worst game in like a week. As wild as that is to think of, it was probably his worst game. And I think a lot of that had to do with the foul trouble getting him out of the rhythm, not getting the usual minutes he does, not being able to get into the flow of the game because of the fouls, not being able to be as aggressive because of the fouls. It's like a mental thing at that point too. And so, yeah, I think that really forced the Raptors to struggle on the offensive end. And so in the third quarter, they did a good job of one, they obviously led after 3 quarters, and they did a really good job of like kind of just holding it down despite some of the stuff that was happening, despite the turnover issues, despite the foul issues. The Raptors were still well within, it was well within reach to win this game. In the fourth quarter, though, DeMar DeRozan took over. The Raptors really didn't have anybody to answer him offensively. I think without Grady Dick, RJ Barrett kind of struggled to have that release valve on the offensive end. Again, Jakob Poeltl didn't have the finishing game you would have hoped for, and so you're kind of just like left looking at like what other options do the Raptors have. And on top of that, they have Jacoby Walter, who leaves with a right shoulder contusion, exact same shoulder that left him, miss the training camp and miss preseason. So that's part of kind of this really tough loss for the Raptors. Jonathan Mobo left the game with a right hip pointer injury. And so not only do you lose a game in which you probably could have won, and there were fouls and turnovers, and I kind of chalk that stuff up to young team mistakes, truthfully. I know people are very quick to be like, oh, the foul discrepancy. You know, the Raptors are not getting calls. And like, admittedly, yeah, that's probably true. But I think there's sort of two things happening here. One, officials tend to go against younger teams because they're younger. So they don't have the respect of the officials when it comes to that. There's no all-star on this team right now because there's no Scotty Barnes. And so there's no one there to technically respect when it comes to the officiating. I know you guys hate to hear it, but that's the truth when it comes to officiating. The second thing is young teams tend to foul because young teams are always out of position defensively. The Raptors have struggled defensively so far this season, and so that's why they're fouling more often than the typical NBA team. That being said, like, those are mistakes. Those are young team mistakes. The turnovers today are young team mistakes. The turnovers throughout the season have been young team mistakes. And so I chalk that up to young team stuff. On top of that, you have the injuries. On top of that, you have the fact that the Raptors really only have 9 healthy bodies. There was a report today that Emmanuel Quickley is close. He might be playing in LA for them this weekend. But that being said, it's tough to come out here and talk to you guys about this game and give you positives when, truthfully, it was kind of a bummer of a loss. Like, yes, I agree. Process stuff, hell yeah. Davion Mitchell played a great game. Revenge stuff, great, awesome. But there wasn't anything for me to be like, oh my God, this was the thing that really kept me going. Truthfully, I'll be honest with you, this was not that type of game. And I think more than anything, it's just kind of deflating to have to deal with the injuries on top of that too, because you're just like, man, I would love to see more out of Jonathan Mobo, who had a great first half, but now he's going to deal with this hip pointer injury. And I would love to see more of Jacoby Walter, who's had flashes in his first couple of games with the Raptors, but now he's back and dealing with that shoulder injury, which likely will that probably seems like it's something that's going to take a while to recoup. So that's why I'm not the usual pep in my step type right now, truthfully. That being said, they play the Lakers, I believe, on Saturday, and then they play the Clippers on Sunday. I could be mixing that up. It might be first Clippers, second Lakers. I don't know. But we'll see what happens. Maybe Emmanuel Quickley comes back. Maybe Jonathan Mobo is healthy by then. Maybe the Jacoby Walter thing is not as serious as I believe it might be. But man, it would be nice for this team to eventually get healthy. That's the truth of it. That being said, development. Wins and lessons, as they say. And, you know, the Raptors clearly are stacking up the lessons right now. But I do think they are on the precipice of, like, just being, like, eventually a good team. There was a really great tweet by Joseph Cacharo, my guy from The Score. I don't have it up on me, but, like, I believe he said they've won a bunch of their quarters this season. Like, they have won a significant amount of their quarters this season, which is the hallmark of a good team. Like, they're able to win quarters consistently against good teams. Admittedly, they've not been able to win in those games. And so it goes back to the thing I was saying earlier of, like, this team hasn't learned how to win yet. This team will only win if they are gifted a win. They were gifted a win in Sacramento just because the Kings played terribly and Grady and RJ played really, really well. They were gifted a win in Philadelphia because the Sixers were undermanned and very injured and played poorly, and Jonathan Mobo really changed the game in that second quarter. And so that's how they've won their game so far. That being said, I don't think that's the case once this team is fully healthy. And so I would like to see this team fully healthy because I would like to talk about stuff that is cool to y'all. Anyways, folks, we'll see what happens. West Coast road trip continues. It's a bit of a tough spot right now, but I do think that we're on the precipice of something good here because it seems like the Raptors will eventually get healthy. Hopefully IQ is back, Scotty in a couple weeks, and maybe we get the ball rolling that way. As always, like, comment, subscribe, do the things you guys usually do. Appreciate you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the Morris Peterson video. If you haven't watched it yet, please do. I work hard on those. I would like for you guys to watch those, so pretty please watch those. And we will see you guys later. Take care.